modelli originali e l'arte della ceramica è diffusa anche in altri centri dell'Umbria. Perugia, siti di Castello, Umbetino, Orvieto, Qualitativo. Ognuna di questi siti produce pesi caratteristici e pieghe particolari tecniche di lavorazione. Okay, so what have I done differently in the second interaction?
We have visuals, so now you can hear it and see it.
You had the written word. Okay, so what strategies did you use to help you understand, or maybe the other question, how much, percentage-wise, do you think you understand about what this passage is about? Doesn't matter if it's still around zero, that's okay.
I have no idea.
No percentage, you don't know. Okay, what do you think?
I will leave it in the 15 just because some of the words I actually don't know it.
Okay, so you have no general what the passage might be about, both of you no idea. No problem, no problem. So what are you doing to help yourself understand?
It was also, I don't know if you feel it that way, but also the way of like his voice now that we have the reading on the screen was different. I feel it that way.
I still don't see a difference in the inflection of reading it. It didn't sound technical, but I'm going to assume it's something technical because I don't know. It's how to do something. I'm taking a guess. How to do something.
That's fine. So what I'm hearing also is that you're using your meta knowledge of language, of how language works, that I'm putting certain stresses on words. Maybe I'm putting stresses on words because they may be important words. All right? So I'm not just monotone reading something. All right? So you want to use every scaffolding device at your that's available to you to help comprehension. So here I was using the idea of stress, intonation. You know, stress is a way of it's the vocal way that bolding is the equivalent when we do it with writing, right? Intonation, and I was using inflection. Anything else that you were thinking you were using to help you understand? Maybe more trying to pick out cognates. Anything else?
Said pictures would be helpful if there was pictures. There's not, so it was still a struggle trying to figure out what you're saying, even with putting the words up there.
I actually have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Why it has the PG on the next of the, like the Umbria, the Ruta? I don't know if I'm like saying with the accent, where it has like the PG and the TER. Is that with a specific?
Well, we don't know yet, do we? We don't know yet. But it might be.
Okay.
It might be. But what you guys are getting, what we're doing now, is we're engaging in question and answer about the passage. We're trying to deconstruct it. You're also talking. We're negotiating about meaning. Negotiation of meaning. To try to figure it out. Alright? So you're still using the sort of like your linguistic knowledge of how it works, trying to focus it. Are there any other cognates that you think that are familiar to you? Maybe in Spanish or English.
Like the words?
Yeah, any cognate words that seem familiar to you in either Spanish or English.
So I believe like where it says like secreto is like a secret, and then like cosa means like thing.
Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say yes, I'm going to say no, but okay. Anything else?
Technique is technique.
Right. Maybe that's like in English what you picked up before.
Is that original model, original something?
And then it says, where it says, el art de la cerámica is like the art of the, I don't know how is that in English. What is when you create,
Pottery?
Yeah, what's the word
Clay,
that looks
sculpting?
in English like this?
Ceramics?
Ceramics.
yeah,
Yeah, okay. All right. Anything else that looks familiar?
Diffused.
Castello means castle. And then produce is produce.
All right. So also what? So we're doing more of this question answer. I'm guiding your thinking. Guiding the students' thinking. We're focusing on key words. So, okay, so let's have a look. We've got something about technical going on. There's ceramic there. All look the same as that ceramic. Okay. Particular. Oh,
Looks like it has some proper nouns. I guess if Italian capitalizes proper nouns as well.
so yeah, so you're using again your meta knowledge of language. That of language. So these are maybe proper nouns. So what are proper nouns? They're names of something. Okay. All right. That's all good. So now let me ask the same question. What percentage? I mean, is it still 0, or do we have sort of like is it about selling cars?
No.
No. So why do you say it's not selling cars?
I'm taking a good guess that it's not, just because of I mean, it could be, I guess, but I don't think so,
So why not?
because we have ceramics mentioned in it, which could mention, I don't know.
Okay, so we also, your brains are subconsciously also going through a process of deduction, right? So, you're basically thinking, well, it's got something maybe with ceramics, but so therefore it's got probably not to do with engineering or selling cars, or maybe flying a plane. I don't know. That seems a bit more remote. So maybe it is. So your brains are doing that. So regardless, the words can help you scaffold. But look at all the things we've sort of like done, and this is what you want to bring to the fore when you're constructing activities, to think about how you're going to scaffold comprehension. Right? Remember, that's the first step of language learning, comprehension, helping them to comprehend. So maybe around passages you have question and answers, maybe some prompts about getting them to talk with the other students about the passage. Maybe, you have passages that have a lot of cognates, and that's maybe where Google comes in, that you have if these words in English have, similar looking words in Haitian, that you start to give context where they can, soon as I give more context in this next iteration, something particular is going to happen in your brain. All right, but let's see if you get it. So here's the next iteration. Bit of a better picture, but it's sort of like face, guy, arm, a vase. All right.
So,
No, just look.
okay.
Just looking. There is some more information here. Let's show you something else. Looking at something, not saying anything. So now, let's get back to my question. In this third iteration, now how much do you think you understand about this passage? Is it still 15%?
I believe so, yeah.
So what do you think? There's no accuracy, just sort of like
I wrote
ballpark.
down like 30,
What about you? What do you think?
maybe about 10%.
And 10%? So it's definitely not zero. So that's a good thing. So, all right, so then the next question, what have I done? What have I done in this third iteration that's different? What have I done?
Adding those pictures will tell me more about the significance.
Okay, exactly. So I'm adding images to help give context, to build context. Right? So are all the images the same? Are they the same types of images? Or are they different types of images?
There's images of a photograph, there's images of
Right, so we've got a photo,
schematics,
we've got some type of schematic,
you have icons,
we've got icons,
cartoons.
we've got Alright, so there's a map,
Mm-hmm.
there's some type of graphic organizer. Alright, in this case, what do you think that is? Any idea what that organizer graphic is there? Alright, well, then we've got some other pictures, we've got some glosses, explanation of the pictures, with the back, and a regular picture. So let me ask you then, what can you tell me more about now this passage after looking at the images?
So, it's saying that Maestro Giorgio is a ceramic from Gotti, right?
What is Maestro Giorgio? What is that? You said Maestro Giorgio is, so is it a chair? Is it a,
No, it's I don't know how to say that in English. Is the word in there ceramic tea,
alright.
right? Like from the Dubbio city of Italy.
Alright, so now we've got like Gubbio, it's a place.
Mm-hmm.
So is it like a place in a place, or you said something before about capitals is some type of proper noun. So what are proper nouns? Proper nouns can be person, place, or thing. So, well, not a thing. Things are usually not, but places and people start with the proper. So what do you think Giorgio? What do you think that is? A person? Yeah, makes sense. Master Giorgio. So, okay, so again, you sort of like the 4 activities, you can scaffold it by prompting your students to help their thinking along. But the question is, what does that prompting or scaffolding look like? And we're using actually a whole heap of different strategies to help comprehension. And in a way, I'm not translating anything for you. It's still all in Italian, right? And you're getting a lot. So, okay, something about more Maestro Giorgio. Maybe he lives in Gubbio. She said it was a place because you saw the map. Right? And then, so here also you're seeing a picture of the vase, which is a ceramic. So it confirms then you're thinking that maybe this has got something to do with ceramics and making ceramics. And then, but we see the word technical there, and so maybe it's about his technique, possibly. So I'm absolutely not thinking it's about selling cars, am I? It just doesn't fit in with the picture of comprehension that I'm building here, instruction that you want. So, but then it's here, this. Are these people? I think.
I don't think so. I believe it's more like because it's saying like the art of the ceramics probably are located on those places.
So places, maybe because Castello looks like castle,
Yeah.
looks like the English castle. And so maybe it's about the ceramics in these places. So I would hazard to guess that you understand much more than 30%. Much more, both of you, much more than 30%. Even though, and here's the important bit, in second language learning, it's not about understanding every single word. Good comprehension can be established by getting the gist, first of all. The gist, that's what I originally did with you guys. You guys were building your gist comprehension of the passage. Right? And then, through the various strategies I did, we were looking at specific information to further build out, to make it more than just gist. Now, we don't know every single detail. We don't know that. But is that important when we're beginning to understand stuff? So just doing this, you would have a second language learner come away from a lesson sort of like, at least understand, this is something about ceramics. Rather than, remember the first time when I just read it at you? There was zero comprehension. But now it's sort of like, maybe I do understand, having done these types of things, that you then build out as maybe activities around the passage. And then you can really elevate. And then you start going into particular language practices, maybe building out vocabulary activities, or maybe talking about the grammar and then practicing a grammar structure. And then that's how it flows. So you go from listening, you engage them in reading, and I didn't get you to read yourself, but that would be another step. And then we maybe talk about it a bit more, you listen to it again. So you don't just give something once. You give something and then you go back to it many different times. That's always good, but in different ways. All right? Okay, so you know what? I'm not going to go through all my different iterations, but basically this is what the passage was about. And I think you got above 50%. So it's about the art of ceramics. We got that. But we get to 500 years ago, bit, but in the city of Gubbio,
That's where it says like Cinque.
exactly. Giorgio started a tradition of making ceramics, vases, that reflected the rainbow colours. Now, if I would have had a colour image, you might have made that connection. So again, think about the quality of the types of images you give. All right? And tradition's been carried on in different cities, in Umbria, and a particular style book, which we didn't get to that. But I would have dug some more and done some more activities, you would have got that too. So that, let me look at the time, we started at 6, it's sort of like 25 past. That's a good foray, our first foray into Italian, right? And you understood. So, but the thing is, and we're going to get onto this in a minute, to know that you want to facilitate comprehension so they don't switch off. Then you construct activities around whatever you want them to understand, and then you start doing speaking, reading, and then really later on, some writing activities. So I'm going to talk a little bit more to you about what speaking activities look like. Okay. So, well, had another activity with you guys, and you can practice the same thing, but to practice and reinforce these activities, and it's on the PowerPoint. But what I also do with, and this is really interesting, when we speak as native speakers of English or Spanish, we like to think of ourselves that we are good communicators. But when it's put to the test, that's not always the case. And I always do this little activity, and you might want to do it yourself. And what I do is, these are just simple geometric shapes, right? Not hard. But what I do is I say, okay, here's the geometric shapes, but you're not going to look at them. So what I want you to do is explain to her to draw it on the board. Okay? And you'd be surprised how native speakers fumble through that activity. But it's also very surprising the communication strategies you unconsciously use. All right? So for example, when I do this, people repeat, some of my students, they say, sometimes they start off with squares. They go, huh? The other person goes, huh? Square. Well, the thing that has 4 sides. So I've just done 2 different important strategies there. 4 sides is a redundancy of the word square. If I didn't understand square, and I say 4 sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe they know their numbers, 4 sides, that maybe helps comprehension. Then if I do this, I'm using body language to facilitate comprehension. Okay? So even there, I just used 2 strategies, 2 very important strategies. Using redundancies, talking around something, because it's not about, maybe I should say it this way. Your game or your activities should provide a language-rich environment where the Asian students can get meaning through many different ways. So we saw in the Italian activity, you got meaning from listening, from seeing different things, and from all these different types of strategies. So that's what you need to be aware of when you build out your activities. Okay? So just to move on, these are the types of things, and I've got the PowerPoint in a Google folder for you guys. The types of strategies that you really want to think about when you're constructing your games or activities. For example, how are you activating your schema? Is the content of your game something that they can say, this is a game about family relations. I get that because a picture of family and maybe there's then some body language, which you do it, digitally, and then I've got some instructions, but I don't really understand the instructions, but I'm listening to them. Oh, I understand some words there, and I can practice it, and I get the understanding of what I need to do. But they're not understanding everything, so they're going to practice it. Right? So remember, language learning is really not a process of mastery. No one learns a language and gets it 100% right straight away. They stumble, they fall, they make errors, but the errors are really important because it's like riding a bike. The more you ride the bike, the better you get. The more you use the language, the better you get. So then a question for you as designers is, how many opportunities are you giving your students to redo and practice the one thing you want to teach them? Okay? But not practice the same thing over and over again. Practice in different ways. Right? It's sort of like if I say, väterliche Grüße. Väterliche Grüße. Väterliche. Just saying it loud and repeating it, the same thing. It doesn't add to the comprehension, right? But if I do Grüße, you know automatically it's greetings, and that's what it is. Okay? So don't just rely on the word, the language, all right? Build it out and scaffold it, and then you'll be surprised how much they'll understand straight away. Remember, comprehension is the first step. Okay? Any questions with that so far? So again, in there, ask yourself how much of these are you building in and being conscious of as instructional, as teachers who design activities. Okay. Okay. No questions there about what I just said? All right. So, so after comprehension comes speaking. Okay. And I've got this up on you, Dr. Ensman?
Yes, very good, thank you.
And for you too. So, is something they need to do, right? Or if you can also make it, of course, a writing activity, but let's stick with speaking. You do that, right? Or maybe they're both speaking in this frame. One of them speaks in this frame, and the task is you have to come up with the remainder of the conversation. Right? So there's different ways to make it an information gap activity. Again, here, a visual as a prompt for speaking. Can be anything. Prompts, images work really well. And we can carry it a little bit further if you have a look at the end. And again, this is something different. And this is, you probably know it, but it's sort of like picture difference. You have it in the newspapers. So we can also try that as a type of information gap activity. So, first of all, let me say, this is cognitively more demanding than something like this. So again, remember the levels of language levels of your students. But okay, so let's start off with the cartoon picture, and then find out the differences. So think about what you do language-wise in terms of figuring out the difference. It looks the same, but there are 10 differences between this one and this one. And you have to find out what the differences are without looking.
Oh.
So you have to use your language to spot the differences.
Oh, okay.
Think about what you do. I want you to explain to me.
Well, I'll start with the most obvious, easiest ones first, which is your numbers and your words and your symbols. I'll start
do
with
it.
that first.
Do it. Yeah, just do it.
Okay, so the first box on the left says time, 298. On the very bottom, under the picture, there's 3 boxes.
I just have two.
You have 2,
Yep.
okay?
There's already one difference.
All right. Do you have, on the 2 boxes, what does it say on your 2
It says
boxes?
fine, if I'm not wrong, and number 7, and then the other one says level 1.
Okay, so mine says time, score, and I'm not sure what that word is supposed to be.
Well, it doesn't matter, but
Doesn't
I mean, but keep going.
Then I have 2 flags on the bottom 2, like.
Flags, okay, I don't have flags, I have a circle button that has a house in it, and then a volume button that's, the circle button is red with a white house in it, and then I have a square, kind of a square with rounded edges on 2 sides with a volume icon, and it's kind of an orange color.
I just have the name, like the Avengers game with Ray, and it says more games.
Okay.
So let's just stop there. So tell me from a language perspective, what am I getting you to do? Maybe I am.
To describe the visual in words.
So, absolutely. So I may be getting you to use adjectives. Maybe that's part of our unit of work of what I'm getting you to try to practice. Remember, through practice, I internalize and I learn. That's whatever the topic of the picture is. You're getting to practice that vocabulary. If I've got numbers on it, as you see, you're practicing your numbers. So I can be very intentional of how I get my students to practice practice language. There's a different type of information gap activity, and we call it picture difference. And the same thing here. What do you think I'm getting my students to practice through the visual?
You're identifying the objects and the names, so you have to know that's a duck and that's a goose.
So animals, farm animals, yeah, absolutely. So maybe my topic is farm animals and what they do and what we get from them and how I need to raise them and that type of thing. All right, so remember, the images give scaffolding to how you want your students to practice the language. Okay? All right. Do we have anything else on that? I just wanted us to have a look at those. These types of things, or using words and languages, speaking. All right, so you might want to that's just for your information. What I wanted to do was give you this, because often we sort of like have to think about, well, what language are we teaching them? I mean, like, remember, vocab is always easy. Okay? But remember, the cement of building the language house, the blocks are the vocab, but the cement is the grammar. So this is a list of common things that second language learners of English get wrong, but B, more importantly, what they need to learn as a beginning language learner. So getting back to, and this is a bit of, this is now a quiz question for you guys. I said that in any type of language syllabus, to make it easy for yourself, you want the way you go about teaching to be topic-based. Okay? Maybe you go from introductions to my family, to my house, to my school, and to learning, to hobbies, and then they give the context of what you teach. Automatically they'll give you the vocab. Right? And then you need to decide, well, what grammar or language structures will I need to incorporate so that they've got the cement to put all the vocab together and practice. Okay, that's really important. So you need to sort of like think about, all right, here's my topic, here are the vocab I want them to teach. I know these are, you pick one, you never do more than one. I mean, so I want them to learn how to say things in the past. Well, that automatically says I have to teach them some verbs, that's vocab, but then I need to teach them that if I say something in the past, in English we stick a ed on the end. Not always, because we've got irregular verbs, but and then you practice, you construct activities around that where they're practicing that. Okay, and then lo and behold, when you say, what did you do yesterday? I shopped. I rode a bike. And then they can start speaking in the past because you practice it and they know that structure, and maybe they've done hobbies in the last unit, so they know about bicycle riding, or I played basketball, they know the word for that hobby. All right? So you understand how it sort of like just builds on each other and what the, okay. So let me show you this then, and I give you this one. Let me give you this, and I've got this in my little Google Drive folder for you. Let me show you what this looks a little bit like put together. Okay. I wrote a textbook called Explorando, and it's with Top Hat, and has 24 chapters, and it includes a lot. It's a textbook on teaching Spanish to beginner learners, university beginning learners, so first year university students learning Spanish for the first time. It's a beginning learning Spanish. And it's all online, but it includes a lot of the things that we just spoke about. So I just wanted you to see how it looks like when it's like just pulled all together. So you can see here, when I've got my topic-based way of teaching. So I go from personal identity to the community around me, to life on campus, to my family and friends, to how communities live their lives, shopping, food, diet, nutrition, rhythm of life, hobbies, pastimes, to vacations, celebrations. You get the idea. Okay. So, what does this chapter look like? Got maybe some guiding questions. I've got maybe internet's oh here we go. No, come on. Well, I've got that shouldn't be there. I don't know why that's like that. I've got hotspots. So maybe little glosses to tell me about what's going on. And then I've got, let's see if this is some visuals.
Hoy tenemos saludos y despedidas.
Hay varias maneras de saludar en español, para decir hola o cómo estás. Para saludar, en el momento en que llega la persona, ¿qué tal? Cuando va llegando alguna persona, pues le dices, ¿qué pasó? ¿Cómo estás? Bueno, el estilo de nosotros.
But it's okay. Is it important that I'm understanding everything? Well, no, remember not. All I want to do, first of all, for comprehension purposes, is a gist. So, look at what I'm, number one, identidad personal, personal identity. They're my cognates. They're my words that look like English. So I'm understanding that this is all about just introductions. And now I'm focusing on just some key words. I might not know them yet, but it'll become clearer as I go on. So that's maybe just let's have a listen to this, then let's move on a little bit, and then I might have some other type of listening.
Mucho gusto.
Buenas noches, Ana.
Muy buenos días, gracias por acompañarnos el día de hoy, Silvina.
El gusto es mío, ¿cómo estás, Alejandra?
Muy bien.
Hola, ¿cómo están? Soy Eyal, soy de México y es un gusto estar grabando este video con ustedes.
Hola, soy Alexa y es un gusto estar hablando con ustedes y que nos estén escuchando. Yo también soy de México y estamos en Perú.
Hola, buenos días, mi nombre es Carlos.
Hola, buenos días, me llamo Walter.
Saludos para todos y para todas.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Soy Antonio Guzmán.
Hola amigos, bienvenidos a su espacio Reflexiones de Vida.
Buenos días, Caramelucci.
Mi nombre es David Japamantra y hoy te quiero hablar de algo diferente.
Hola, soy Víctor Toscano. Hola, soy Víctor Pérez.
Ok, yo me encuentro muy bien. ¿Y tú cómo te encuentras?
Hola, ¿cómo estás? ¿Cómo te encuentras? ¿Cómo estás?
Como siempre, un gusto conversar contigo. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Bien, ¿y tú? Mal. Buenos días, ¿cómo estás? Más o menos. ¿Y tú? Muy bien, gracias. Hola Victoria, ¿qué tal? Regular. ¿Y tú? Bien, ¿qué pasa? Tengo un problema. Oh, lo siento.
So what am I doing? I'm foregrounding information and language I want them to eventually learn. They don't have to understand everything now, but I'm foregrounding with visuals, with videos that this is all about introductions. And these are different ways to say hi and how are you. And now I've gone from, I started off with like really regular hard Spanish to learn, but then I'm really breaking it down to sort of like some simple conversations. This, by the way, is my wife. So, and something like that's easy to do. So you can then have little conversations going on, you have the words, the context, and then, of course, remember, you want to go from gist to practicing. So now I've got, like, following this little and then the kids can go back to it. They got little types of activities where this is just true false. They hear something and these are audio activities. Okay, so they've listened to the video up here, and then they've got little questions, true or false, and then they, click on it and it says, yeah, you're right, no, you're not right, have a think about that again, go back to the video, allow them to go back and re-listen and whatnot. And then you go on, right? So that you're building comprehension skills. So maybe you have different types of questions where this is just like a matching type of activity. So now they're looking at the language. So they've gone from hearing to seeing the words, and now they're playing with the words. But all about introductions. Oh, what are you doing? I'm not used to it's very sensitive at the moment. The touch thing. Let me go back up here. Chapter 1, of course. Alright, so that's listening, building out comprehension with activities. And then maybe have pronunciation. Remember spelling, pronunciation, so just some practice. And this one, I forget what type it's
Pronunciación. El sonido de la vocal A.
A is one of the 5 vowel. So remember, okay, so what's here? That's my first question. What's going on here is it's okay to sometimes use their first language. Because remember, it's about scaffolding, comprehension. So you'll see later on in like this is just PowerPoint converted to where the images of the PowerPoint are made into individual slides, and they're put together and then just put on YouTube, and it looks like a moving thing. The audio goes with it. So it's okay sometimes to give an explanation in English or Haitian or Creole, but then get them to practice because they're beginning learners. But you don't want to have everything in Haitian because then you're saying, well, you're just translating everything. I mean, that's not what you want to do. All right? And this is just, again, pronunciation. Right?
Sounds in the Spanish language.
Let me go on.
You say, ah. Listen to the sound of the vowel a in the following words. Then listen again and repeat after the speaker.
La planta. Las almendras. La planta. Las almendras. Caminar.
And then it becomes obvious that you listen, repeat type of thing. That's just, again, for pronunciation. Let's go on. Maybe you've got some passages. So now I've got a reading passage, but more than the reading patches, I've got audio. Okay, that's attached to this, so they can listen, look at the audio.
Okay, so look at this. There's tons of stuff going on in here. Now this is not for the first chapter of the book, but what I wanted to show you is how text can become the beginning of all your scaffolding that you do, that you build around it. So remember, what's going to happen is our junior 2s are going to create stories, right? And they're junior 1s, and when they come to me junior 2, they're going to create stories. Most students are going to build activities around it, and you guys are going to think about digitizing it all. So they're going to construct stories, and most students are going to actually look how this is scaffolded. So automatically, if this was in, say, Russian, remember, comprehension, gist first, I would sort of know that this is maybe something to do with science, maybe. Maybe something, maybe I have bolding here on keywords, and I'm thinking it's about maybe weather or energy type of thing. All right? So automatically, the visuals, the different types of visuals, language support, bolding, highlighting, maybe a little vocab list, glosses, maybe even a little activity, maybe a little bit of explanation. That's all text-based, but more so it's also visual-based, and I can then use audio in a digital environment to sort of like go along with it, hear the story, just like in the Italian activity. And that's what we did over in Explorando, where they can listen to, they can click on a word and hear it, click on the word, and there's hotspots where the explanation comes up. Remember I showed you hotspots? So just be mindful of that, how you can build out. So if it's just text, that's like lecturing at you. But if I build it out like that, I'm creating a world of scaffolding and a language-rich environment for them to learn. So when I go back, remember I told you about hotspots? Well, maybe let me go further down. Well, let me go back to the hotspots, and then I'll explain some other things that's going on in here. So you understand hotspots, how hotspots work, right? And you can easily use Web 2.0 tool called ThingLink that you can import it there, because you get like HTML code, and then you can just embed it. I'm sure you can embed it in Story Activate. So
ThingLink, right? No, ThingLink, is it downloadable, that HTML code?
No. Yes.
Okay.
So it's free. You create an account. The hotspots can be videos. It can be like graphics. It can be words. And then when you create it, it can stay on their website, or you can ask it for the HTML code, the embed code, and it can be like where it's like big or small. You've got an option, and then you just embed it. And it's actually really cool.
You can do that with Articulate too. I think you know that too, as well. Yeah.
So then you've foregrounded the topic. They've listened to it, maybe done a little few activities on it, and now maybe you do want to give them a little bit of an explanation. All right. So this is again my precious wife.
Hola, bienvenido. ¿Estás listo para aprender y empezar nuestra aventura? Vamos a explorar. Let's explore today. Let's see. Let's go back a little bit to basics. If I give you a sentence like this, el niño come, delicioso. El niño come un postre. Very sweet. El niño come un postre. Let's see. What do you think is the action here? If I translate this sentence in English, is the boy eats a dessert. basics, like I said. What do you think is the action? What's the verb, which is the action? Yes, you got it. Of course, the action is eats. Come is the verb. Come, eats. Es el verbo, ¿sí? Which depicts the action. Now let's think. Who does the action? Who's the one that is eating the dessert? El postre. ¿Lo tienes? Correcto. The boy. El niño.
So, anyway, it goes on. But technologically, how do you think that's done? Something like that. How do you think it's done? Any idea? Because look, she's writing, and it's like in thin air, right? But if she was writing like this, you can read it. But in actual fact, if I'm writing like this, it would be backwards, but it's not backwards, right?
Right.
Simple trick. This is called, it's using a light board, and basically what it is you have a glass, and then you have a strip light that you just shine through the glass, right? It shines through the glass. And then when you use a fluorescent text, it comes up really like that. And then all I did was use a camera with a mirror, and then basically it's right way, right? So, and that's the how do you actually do it technologically? But instructionally, the idea is, well, it's okay sometimes to focus in, well, how does this cement work? And then let's practice it. You've heard it in the introductions. How are you? I'm fine. It's all like using first person subject pronouns. Right? And now it's a little brief explanation. This is what you've been hearing, seeing, and then, but let's go on then. Okay? So, go on. Practice. Let's go down a little bit, show you some other things. This is all pretty basic because it's the first chapter. Get some more videos. I think these are hotspot activities. No, it's a different type of activity. There's some more play with video. Video is really powerful in language teaching.
Hola, ¿cómo estás? Vamos a la nueva aventura, ¿sí? Te quiero invitar a ver mi clase. Vamos a ver mi clase. Let's see my classroom. Are you ready? Let's go. Hola, bienvenidos a mi clase de español. Esta es mi clase. Sí, de
So again, this is all about hearing, seeing, doing. Alright, so they keep reinforcing the vocab, and then I've got activities before and afterwards. They're practicing in a real sense through the activities. Keep on going down, and there's all different types of activities, alright, where they're reinforcing. So that's the nature of, let me go to another one, let me go to say 4. Chapter 4 is all about family, alright? So whatever instruction we create, each unit of work should look the same. So they go through the same processes. With here, it's all about listening first, then you're speaking, then reading, and then writing. But there's all different types of activities to reinforce that. They're hearing it, the gist, they're looking and seeing the words, then say, oh, now you try, now you try. But every time you're saying you try, it's a different type of language activity, okay? But then you always constantly have that scaffolding going on. They can click on something if they don't understand a word, maybe you've got then a pop-up happening, those types of things. So, in a text, let's go down. Again, visuals with with labels, that always helps. Audio, again, labels, reinforcement. This was listening and identifying family members. Pronunciation activities again. This is the Enya. Little passages, some cultural information. Alright, so here, look at this passage. So here they're looking at it, and then you've got these pop-ups. Well, I'm not sure of these words, so some little explanations. Okay? So that's how pop-ups work in text. Activities around it, etc., etc. And then little explanations again. Oh. And then you've got activities. Okay. I'm not going to go through everything, but there's like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different types of activities in there throughout all the different chapters. Everything from using thingling activities to using augmented reality, and the pictures become prompts for other videos. But as I said, videos are very powerful. Here are some like activities where they have to match words, etc. Any questions with that? All right.
Your recordings, do the learners, can they speak into it and it can be saved?
Yes. So what's, let me go to one of those prompts. Go to La Comida. This touchpad is not used to it. So, all right, again, the same type of thing, listening, labeling, visuals, activities built around it. Here, it's this type of activity is, let's learn the words in context. Let's listen to the words. Let's listen to them in sentences. And then activities around it that to help them recall and identify. Like it might be anything from matching activities, etc. So then I go on, then the reading passages where those words are used in context, and again, then you've got pop-ups. And then, let me go. Videos, explanations, practice. This was on a certain platform, on the Top Hat platform, so there was certain things I could and couldn't do, but let me just get to a speaking, recording. Type of pop-up activity where they have to identify. Okay, here. So, Vocaroo is the Web 2.0 tool that I used. Vocaroo, right? There's different ones. We also use UCU, is another Web 2.0 tool where they can record. So you give them a prompt. So here, you can see, now that you've learned a bit to cook tamales, now I want you to, what's the activity? They have to do something with ingredients. So they click on the link, and the link takes them to being able to record it, their recipe or whatever, and then once they're done, they stop and it goes automatically to the professor as a sound file in their email. All right? So that's something that's really, makes it a little bit more interactive. That's Vocaroo. So that's an example of that, where you, of course, want to prompt them to speak. Then, okay, that's Vimeo. And then there's other types of video prompts where we see UCU, and then they look at a video, they stop the video, and then they have to record onto the video too, and that's using UCU, which is also a Web 2.0 tool that you can use. So do you see how it sort of like comes together? There's so much more that I can learn with my students. Learn this over 2 semesters, so I'm really giving you a condensed format. But hopefully it gives you an understanding of the types of things to consider when you're going about constructing activities or games or curriculum to facilitate second language learning. Oh, this is another one that I did. This is another type of thingling where the hotspots go to different videos or different texts that they can further listen to and reinforce what they've just learned. But as they're doing the listening, they play a tic-tac-toe game, right? So if they get it right in terms of the video, they get the 0. So it's like a tic-tac-toe listening activity, and it's a game, right? And it's reinforcing then, the topic. Okay. So that's all I really wanted to sort of like show you, at least for now. There's a ton of stuff, but maybe it just gives you some food for thought. I hope. Did it? To consider. Now, of course, from your end, so this is the type of stuff I'm going to go over with my students, because they're constructing activities around those text stories that are being created this semester. But then digitizing, it's like thinking about how can I further scaffold and reinforce and provide context, information, and build activities around. Because remember, you learn by doing. So the doing becomes the activities. And then implement all these different types of strategies constantly. I think for lesson number 1, that will do it.